All right, hey guys, what's up? So it is March 28th, I think. Well, I'm quarantining myself. Basically, just trying to get some work done in the Convivium greenhouse. Today actually, the past couple days we've been working on the louvers. So along the ridge line, on either side of the ridge, there's these louvers that lift up, almost like gull wings, like a pair of gull wings. And those allow the heat to escape out of the greenhouse in the hot weather, provide ventilation. So we basically sat down, figured out what we wanted to do. We decided that we were going to go with steel, the lightest weight steel we could do, that wasn't going to be too heavy when we get, basically we need 18 down each side of the greenhouse. The greenhouse is about 150 feet long. So we got these 8-foot louvers, 8 foot 4 inches basically, and like a little bit of spacing between them. But those will attach to the ridge board. And at first we were going to do them out of wood, but wood, over time, no matter how much you seal them, they're going to rot eventually. And you know, being on the top of a 20-foot some height greenhouse, we get some pretty good gusts rolling down the valley at Convivium Urban Farmstead, and we don't want a 30-mile-an-hour gust to be really shaking the hell out of these wood louvers. So we decided to go with steel. We quoted the price in 14 gauge and 16 gauge steel. The 16 gauge was cheaper, also a little bit lighter, and gave us the rigidity that we needed so they don't rack. We thought about doing aluminum, but the aluminum was about, again, half as much more expensive. So we went with the 16 gauge steel. And Gene Tully welded the first two samples up, one out of 14, one out of 16 gauge. And this is a 16 gauge louver here. You can see. Now we did mitered corners on these. We really don't need to do mitered corners. We're actually just going to do butt welds with the flat butt here on with the solid 28-incher up and down. That way we can seal the ends to keep moisture from penetrating up inside the tube steel, rusting it from the inside out. And also gives us just a little bit more strength with 4 welds around the side on the actual lifting edge. So we did plan 1x1s here, right there. We're actually going to do 1x2s for the middle struts. So once we get all these built, we'll actually cover these with that solar wrap, that same material that we covered the greenhouse with. Use fairing strips, so everything's going to be consistent. We'll mount the hinges on them, then we'll mount the lifting arms back onto these here, and when we hang them up there, then we'll be able to just pop the lifting arms onto the roll pipes. These are long pipes that run the length of the greenhouse that actually twist with a motor or a chain drive, and that actually makes the arms articulate and push the gull wings up. So we brought down all the steel that we needed for the 8-foot sections, and that's the top rail and the bottom rail. I've got, let's see, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, probably 55 cut so far. And I think we needed 64 pieces. No, we need 72. Anyway, so I think I've still got some steel at the greenhouse, but hopefully we'll get that all cut tonight. Been down here since about 11 o'clock today. Stopped for a little bit to get some dinner with the wife, and came back down here. So I'm going to try to get all the 8-footers cut tonight, so that we can break apart this jig and get ready for the 2x4s, which are 28 inches. The side rails, we'll cut 72 of those, or actually 68 of those, and then we'll cut 68 of the 2-footers for the middle mullions. Once that's ready, then we'll actually get ready to start welding. I spent, Thursday and Friday setting up a jig. You can kind of see how it's going to be welded up here. This piece actually drops in there, and it's a nice tight jig. I think I'm within like a 32nd of an inch for square. Obviously, I don't have the middle sections as far as the jig members in on the middles, because I don't have the middle pieces cut yet. We're trying to cut all of the pieces that are the same length all at once so that we don't have any variances, and that's what we're doing here with the jig setup, the stop block setup. We have a sacrificial piece as a rail on the bottom. Right now, this is the 8-foot 3 3/4 mark here. And so we just put our piece of steel in there, as you saw, as you'll see in the Part B video. And that leaves just a little bit hanging out here like that. And this is a horizontal bandsaw, so the arm is hydraulically controlled. It basically, you can set the speed of the drop of the arm. We got it dialed down to its slowest setting as far as pulling the band across, and we've got it tuned. We don't want the arm to drop too much, because then it puts too much pressure on the blade and it starts dulling or breaking off the teeth. But right now I kind of stopped it in the middle of that cut so you can kind of see where we're at there. See that blade right there has got some pretty aggressive teeth, and I think we're going to order a 24 tooth blade, and we should be able to run the drop a lot faster because it'll clear out the material quicker. So, but once we get that piece lopped off there, I unhook it from the jig, set it down to the side, grab a new chunk, put it up there, butt it up against the stop block, clamp it in place, start the blade, start the drop, and then I can take the other piece that's fresh cut, bring it over here, lay it on the sawhorse, burnish the ends here, get the any excess that is hanging off. Like, I don't know if you can see that little flap. Normally that little flap is on the outside, and that one got pushed in, but that's okay. So we don't want any of that stuff messing up when we're trying to fit it in the jig, because when this thing fits in the jig, I mean, it's tight in there. So so then we'll get all the pieces cut once we're done cutting all the steel. So on the jig, we'll actually flip this around. You can kind of see the sacrificial cut there. We flip this whole bottom rail down, the stop rail, and we extend it out here just a little bit to the length we want it, basically 30 inches. And so then when we put the raw stock on there, it slides up to the stop block, which is on the very end there. That end will be this way, out here. And then we'll slide it up, clamp it in place, cut through it, and that gives us the 28 inch or 2-foot 4 inch piece. And then we just unclamp it, slide it forward again to the stop block, clamp it up, drop the saw on it again, cut the next piece, and just keep cutting until that piece of steel is basically gone. We'll do that until we get the 68 pieces that we need. Then reset the stop block, which again will still be over here, but we'll set it up for 24 inches. Repeat that whole process over and over again. Keep sliding the raw stock down until we finish up that beam, put a new beam up. And then we'll have all of our 24 footers, or 24 inch footers. 24 inch pieces or 2 footers. Then it's basically coming over, fitting 2 of the long stock in here for the top and bottom rails, 2 of the 28 inch pieces for the side rails, and then 2 of the 24 inch pieces in the middle. And we'll be able to tack the 2 middle pieces in place, and then we can actually start running a top bead and a corner bead, kind of like right here. Run the top bead and the corner bead on all 4 corners. The 2 middle pieces will run the side bead, and top bead. Once everything's secured, we'll flip this over, again do the back side bead, and then the outside corner, and then finish out the middle pieces, and that whole pane will be done. It'll look basically like that, but again with the 1x2 pieces. After that, then we got to take them all back to the greenhouse, stack them up there, lay them out. We'll wipe all the steel down with denatured alcohol that we have left over from when we sealed the truss work in the greenhouse, and get all the oil and grime off here, because we want to get all that gunk off, the cutting fluid from the steel mart, all the metal shavings, any oil from just the milling process, and we'll coat it then with 2 coats of Everbright, which is a steel sealant. That 2 coats should do more than protect this steel from rusting or corroding for a long, long time. So Everbright, then we'll mount the hinges, mount the feet, be ready to rock and roll, get them hung up on the ridge line, and hopefully we'll have operational louvers by June. That's my goal anyway. So, all right, that's about all I have for today. I'm just cutting and grinding, and then I'll move on to the next pieces. Probably Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week. So, all right, guys. It's coronavirus season, so stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll talk to you soon.